Stop! Before you spend another Australian 50-cent coin, check your pocket right now. The ordinary-looking coin sitting in your wallet could actually be hidden treasure. Nobody talks about these rare 50-cent coins, yet collectors are fighting to own them. Do not spend these coins. What you're about to see has created real auction shock across the collecting world. Every coin in today's countdown is rarer, more mysterious, and more valuable than the last. Stay until the end, because the final discovery could completely change the way you look at every Australian 50-cent coin forever. Coin number 1. Picture this. You're standing at a supermarket checkout, counting your change. Among the coins in your hand sits an old Australian 50-cent piece. It's darker than the others, covered with strange black spots, and honestly, looks like the oldest coin in your pocket. Most people wouldn't think twice. They'd hand it over, walk away, and never realize they had just spent one of the most fascinating commemorative coins Australia has ever produced. That's exactly why collectors search through thousands of 50-cent coins every year. They know the greatest discoveries don't always shine. They often hide behind years of natural aging. This is not fiction. This is hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. And if you ignore one tiny detail on this coin, you could unknowingly lose an extraordinary opportunity. Now travel back to 1977 Ampere's year, filled with celebration across Australia and throughout the Commonwealth. It marked the 25th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's accession to the throne, a milestone recognized around the world. Australia celebrated this silver jubilee with ceremonies, public events, and a special commemorative 50-cent coin produced by the Royal Australian Mint. Unlike ordinary circulating coins, this issue carried historical meaning from the very beginning. It wasn't created merely for spending. It became a lasting tribute to a quarter-century of royal history. Yet despite its importance, millions entered circulation, passing quietly through shops, cafes, buses, sporting events, and family businesses. Few Australians imagined these coins would one day become objects of intense collector interest. Here's what makes this story even more incredible. Many commemorative coins disappeared long before collectors appreciated their significance. Some were scratched beyond recognition. Others were lost beneath furniture, buried inside forgotten jars, or simply worn smooth after decades of circulation. Every year, fewer original examples remain available. That's exactly why experienced collectors pay attention whenever an untouched 1977 commemorative coin appears. Survival itself has become part of the rarity. Most people miss this because they only see an old 50-cent coin. Collectors see history that managed to survive nearly half a century. Take a careful look at the front of the coin. The obverse features the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machine, facing proudly to the right. Around the portrait appears the inscription, Elizabeth II, Australia, 1977. At first glance, it seems ordinary, but experienced collectors immediately begin examining details that casual observers completely ignore. They inspect the Queen's hair, facial definition, the sharpness of the lettering, the strength of the rim, and the overall strike quality. Even small differences in preservation can dramatically influence collector interest because these details reveal how well the coin survived decades of circulation. Now, turn the coin over, because this is where the story becomes unforgettable. Instead of the standard Australian coat of arms, the reverse carries a special commemorative design, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the accession of Queen Elizabeth II. The anniversary inscription proudly marks this historic occasion, accompanied by carefully engraved, symbolic artwork created specifically for the Silver Jubilee release. The denomination 50 cents remains part of the design, surrounded by commemorative elements that distinguish this issue from ordinary circulating coins. Every engraved line has meaning. Collectors study every letter, every curve, and every tiny design feature because originality becomes increasingly valuable with every passing year. Physically, this coin feels substantial the moment it lands in your hand. It was struck from 75% copper and 25% nickel, the durable cupro-nickel alloy used for Australian circulating 50-cent coins. Officially, it weighs 15.55 grams, measures 31.51 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of approximately 2.95 millimeters, and because of its famous 12-sided shape, its girth measures approximately 98 millimeters around the edge. These official specifications are far more important than many people realize. Professional collectors routinely verify weight, diameter, thickness, and shape before making important buying decisions, because authenticity always comes first. One feature that scares away ordinary people but attracts experienced collectors is the appearance of natural black spots. The average person assumes the coin has been ruined. They believe those dark patches reduce its importance, so they spend it without hesitation. That's one of the biggest mistakes anyone can make. Those naturally aged surfaces often prove the coin has remained untouched for decades. Original color, honest wear, and authentic toning tell a story that polishing can never recreate. Hidden treasure rarely looks perfect. Sometimes the marks left by time become part of what makes a coin genuinely desirable. That brings us to the most important warning in today's video. Never clean this coin. Not with polish. Not with baking soda. Not with vinegar. Not with any homemade cleaning method you find online. Cleaning permanently removes original toning, leaves microscopic scratches, and destroys the natural surfaces collectors value most. Once originality disappears, it can never be restored. Experienced buyers can usually recognize cleaned coins within seconds. Original toning matters because it preserves authenticity, history, and long-term collector appeal. A naturally aged commemorative coin almost always creates stronger interest than one polished to an artificial shine. During 1977, the Royal Australian Mint produced enormous numbers of circulating coins while also preparing commemorative issues for national celebrations. Production equipment operated continuously, and minting dies naturally experienced wear over time. Although today's featured coin contains no mint errors or famous varieties, collectors still inspect strike sharpness with remarkable precision. They compare lettering, rim quality, portrait definition, and reverse detail, searching for examples that escaped circulation with stronger original features. Tiny differences invisible to most people become fascinating talking points among serious numismatists. This detail changes everything because outstanding preservation cannot be recreated once it's lost. Think about where this commemorative coin has traveled during nearly 50 years of Australian history. It may have purchased groceries in Sydney, coffee in Melbourne, train tickets in Brisbane, or lunch in Perth. It may have rested inside a soldier's wallet, a grandmother's purse, a child's piggy bank, or a forgotten kitchen drawer. Every journey increased the risk of scratches, damage, or complete loss. Countless examples disappeared forever. Those that remain in fine condition with attractive original surfaces have become increasingly desirable because supply quietly continues shrinking while collector demand steadily grows stronger. Auction rooms reveal another fascinating truth about this commemorative issue. At first, everything appears calm. Bidding starts slowly. Then, Suddenly determined collectors begin competing with remarkable intensity. Why? Because everyone understands opportunities like this don't appear often. Once an outstanding commemorative example enters a private collection, it may remain there for decades. Many collectors purchase these coins not simply as investments, but because they represent an irreplaceable piece of Australia's royal history. Quiet wealth often stays hidden because knowledgeable owners simply refuse to let go. Now comes the moment every viewer has been waiting for. According to today's featured scenario, an outstanding 1,977 Australia 50 cents, 25th anniversary of the accession of Queen Elizabeth II commemorative coin with natural black spotting in fine condition, even without mint errors or rare varieties, has reached an astonishing auction market value of approximately $810. That's life-changing money hiding inside a commemorative coin many Australians would still spend without a second thought. It proves that extraordinary value doesn't always belong to gold. Sometimes history itself becomes the greatest treasure. So if this commemorative 50-cent coin ever appears in your change, stop immediately. Do not spend this coin. Hold it only by its edges. Never remove the black spots. Never polish the surfaces. Start by confirming the 1977 date, studying the special commemorative reverse, checking the official weight, diameter, thickness, and 12-sided shape, then examine every detail under good lighting. If the coin appears especially well preserved, remember one final rule. Professional grading is critical. Authentication protects both the coin and its long-term collector value. Patience creates wealth, while rushing destroys opportunities forever. This remarkable 1977 Silver Jubilee 50-cent coin proves one unforgettable lesson. Hidden treasure doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it arrives worn by time, carrying decades of Australian history inside an ordinary-looking piece of change. Somewhere today, this very coin could still be sitting unnoticed inside an old biscuit tin, family coin album, forgotten wallet, or loose change jar. Most people will never recognize it. But now you know exactly what to look for. And don't miss the next coin in our countdown. Because what comes next is even rarer, even more unbelievable, and its story has stunned collectors across Australia. Next up, coin number 2. Have you ever looked at an old Australian 50-cent coin and thought, it's just 50 cents? That's exactly what makes today's coin so dangerous to ignore. Somewhere in Australia, a 1,971 Australian 50-cent coin is probably sitting inside a cash register, an old piggy bank, or the loose change in someone's car. The person holding it has no idea that collectors quietly search for these older 50-cent coins every single day. Hidden treasure doesn't always sparkle. Sometimes it hides behind an ordinary date that almost everyone overlooks. This is not fiction. Every year, remarkable Australian coins disappear forever because people spend them before discovering what they actually have. Stay with me, because one tiny detail about the 1971 issue changes everything. The year 1971 was an important period in Australia's growing economy. The country was expanding, businesses were thriving, and cash remained the center of everyday life. Every supermarket, railway station, post office, and local shop depended on circulating coins. The Royal Australian Mint continued producing 50-cent coins to meet increasing public demand. Millions entered circulation, traveling through every state and territory. At the time, nobody imagined these ordinary-looking coins would survive into the 21st century and become highly desirable among collectors searching for Australia's early decimal coinage. Unlike commemorative issues, The 1971 Australian 50-cent coin was designed for everyday circulation. That means most examples worked hard for decades. They purchased groceries, school lunches, newspapers, bus fares, sporting event tickets, and countless ordinary items. Every transaction slowly reduced the number of attractive surviving examples. Coins became scratched, bent, damaged, or simply disappeared forever. That's why collectors become excited whenever they discover a well-preserved 1971 50-cent coin. Survival after more than 50 years has become part of the story. Now let's study the front of this remarkable coin. The obverse displays the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by Arnold Machine, facing to the right. Around Her Majesty appears the inscription, Elizabeth II, Australia, 1971. Although the design appears familiar, collectors immediately begin searching for tiny details. They examine the Queen's hair strands, facial definition, lettering, rim strength, and strike quality under magnification. Every surviving feature provides clues about the coin's history. A sharply detailed portrait tells collectors the coin experienced less wear than most others from the same year, making it far more desirable. Turn the coin over and you'll see one of Australia's most iconic circulating coin designs. The reverse features the magnificent Australian coat of arms, designed by Stuart Devlin. The Commonwealth Shield occupies the centre, supported by the famous kangaroo and emu, symbols recognised throughout Australia. Above them shines the Commonwealth Star, while below appears the word Australia. The large denomination 50 dominates the design, with cents positioned underneath. Collectors inspect every feather, every line on the shield, every letter, and every edge, because even slight differences in preservation can dramatically influence collector demand. Physically, this coin immediately feels different from smaller Australian denominations. It was struck using 75% copper and 25% nickel, creating the durable cupro-nickel alloy trusted for circulation. Officially, the coin weighs 15.55 grams, measures 31.51 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of approximately 2.95 millimeters, and thanks to its famous 12-sided shape, the girth measures approximately 98 millimeters around the edge. These official specifications are essential because professional collectors always confirm weight, dimensions, thickness, and shape before considering any important purchase. Authenticity begins with the basics. One reason this coin fascinates collectors is that it often develops beautiful natural aging after decades of circulation. Fine condition examples may display soft silver-gray toning, gentle surface color changes, and honest signs of age that tell the story of their journey. Most people mistakenly believe old coins should be polished until they shine. Serious collectors strongly disagree. Original surfaces preserve history. Every natural mark reflects decades of genuine circulation, making untouched examples much more attractive than coins that have been artificially cleaned. That leads directly to one of the biggest mistakes collectors warn beginners about. Never clean this coin. Polishing removes original toning, creates fine scratches, and permanently changes the authentic appearance developed over many decades. Once originality disappears, it can never truly return. Original toning matters because experienced buyers immediately recognize untouched surfaces. Many valuable Australian coins have lost significant collector interest simply because someone tried to make them look newer. Ironically, leaving the coin exactly as you found it often protects its greatest strength. During 1971, the Royal Australian Mint worked under continuous production pressure to satisfy Australia's demand for circulating decimal coinage. Minting dies gradually wore down as enormous numbers of coins passed through production. Although today's featured coin contains no mint errors or famous varieties, specialists still examine strike quality with extraordinary attention. They compare lettering, portrait sharpness, rim detail, and reverse definition, searching for examples that survived with exceptional original features. Most people never notice these subtle differences. Collectors notice every single one. Another reason this coin attracts attention is simple mathematics. Every passing year reduces the number of surviving original examples. Some were lost forever. Others suffered environmental damage, while countless coins remain forgotten inside old family collections. The available supply quietly becomes smaller, while more collectors begin searching for Australia's earlier decimal issues. That growing imbalance creates increasing competition whenever outstanding examples appear for sale. Many experienced collectors purchase these coins and refuse to sell them because replacing quality examples becomes more difficult every year. Auction behavior tells another fascinating story. When an attractive 1,971 Australian 50-cent coin appears, bidding often begins quietly. Then, suddenly several determined collectors compete at once. They understand the importance of originality, historical significance, and long-term scarcity. Hidden wealth doesn't always create loud headlines. Sometimes it grows quietly, while knowledgeable collectors patiently wait for the right opportunity. Serious buyers aren't simply purchasing 50 cents. They're preserving an important piece of Australia's decimal coin history. Now comes the question everyone has been waiting for. According to today's featured scenario, an exceptional 1,971 Australian 50-cent coin in fine condition, even without mint errors or rare varieties, has achieved an impressive auction market value of approximately $185. That's astonishing for a circulating coin that millions of Australians once carried without giving it a second thought. It proves that life-changing opportunities sometimes hide inside the most ordinary-looking pocket change. Quiet wealth often remains invisible until collectors recognize its true importance. So if a 1,971 Australian 50-cent coin ever appears in your wallet, don't rush to spend it. Do not spend this coin. Hold it only by the edges. Avoid polishing or cleaning, and carefully inspect every design detail. Begin by confirming the 1971 date, examining the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, studying the Australian coat of arms, and checking the official weight, diameter, thickness, and 12-sided shape. If the coin appears especially well preserved, remember that professional grading is critical. Authentication confirms originality, documents condition, and provides confidence for serious collectors. Patience creates wealth, while rushing destroys opportunities that may never return. The 1971 Australian 50-cent coin reminds us that extraordinary discoveries don't always arrive wrapped in gold. Sometimes they hide inside an ordinary circulating coin that has quietly survived more than half a century of Australian history. Somewhere today, this very coin could still be sitting unnoticed inside a kitchen drawer, an old biscuit tin, a family coin album, or the loose change in someone's pocket. Most people will never recognize it. But now you know exactly what to look for. And don't go anywhere. Because the final coin in this countdown is even rarer, even more mysterious. And its unbelievable story has left seasoned Australian collectors completely speechless. Next up, coin number 3. Imagine finding an old Australian 1973 50-cent coin buried beneath years of forgotten loose change. The surface is dark, covered with black spots, and it looks like it has lived a very hard life. Most people would never give it a second glance. They would assume it's worn out, damaged, and worth only 50 cents before spending it at the nearest shop. But that's exactly how hidden treasure disappears every single day. The coins that look the least impressive are often the ones collectors search for the hardest. This is not fiction. Somewhere in Australia, someone is carrying a remarkable 1,973 Australian 50-cent coin right now without having the slightest idea what they may be holding. Stay with me, because one overlooked detail about this coin changes everything. To understand why collectors pay attention to the 1,973 Australian 50 cent, we have to travel back more than 50 years. Australia was experiencing economic growth, expanding industries, and a rapidly developing decimal currency system that had only been introduced a few years earlier. Cash dominated everyday life. Every supermarket, petrol station, railway ticket office, sporting venue, and local business depended on circulating coins. The Royal Australian Mint continued producing large numbers of 50-cent pieces to meet public demand. These coins weren't made for collectors. They were designed to be used, spent, dropped into tills, carried through pockets, and passed from one Australian to another. Few people imagined that ordinary circulating coins from 1973 would eventually become objects of serious collector interest. One reason this coin fascinates collectors is simple. It survived. Think about everything a circulating coin experiences over 5 decades. It passes through thousands of hands, bounces across shop counters, sits beside keys inside pockets, falls onto concrete footpaths, disappears beneath car seats, and sometimes spends years forgotten inside dusty drawers. Every journey leaves another mark. Every year increases the chance that the coin will be lost forever. That's why surviving examples in attractive original condition become increasingly desirable. Most people overlook this fact because they only see an old coin. Collectors see a survivor. Let's begin with the front of the coin. The obverse proudly displays the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machine, facing to the right. Around the portrait appears the inscription, Elizabeth II, Australia, 1973. At first glance, the design appears identical to many Australian coins of the era, but experienced collectors know where to look. They carefully inspect the Queen's hair detail, facial features, lettering, rim strength, and strike quality. Even tiny surviving details become incredibly important after decades of circulation. A stronger portrait often tells collectors that the coin escaped the heavy wear that affected so many others from the same year. Now turn the coin over and you'll discover Australia's famous coat of arms, created by Stuart Devlin. At the centre stands the Commonwealth Shield, representing Australia's states, proudly supported by the iconic kangaroo and emu. Above the shield shines the Commonwealth Star, while below appears the word Australia. Dominating the centre is the bold denomination 50 with cents positioned beneath it. Every engraved detail matters. Collectors examine the feathers of the emu, the fur texture of the kangaroo, the sharpness of the shield, and every letter around the design. Tiny features ignored by ordinary people often become the details that serious collectors value most. This coin feels substantial the instant you hold it. Like other Australian 50-cent coins of the period, it was struck from 75% copper and 25% nickel, producing a durable cupro-nickel alloy designed for decades of circulation. Official specifications list the weight at 15.55 grams, the diameter at 31.51 millimeters, the thickness at approximately 2.95 millimeters, and thanks to its famous 12-sided shape, the overall girth measures approximately 98 millimeters around the edge. Professional collectors routinely verify these measurements because authenticity begins with correct physical specifications before any discussion of rarity or value. Now let's talk about the feature that scares away ordinary people but often excites experienced collectors, the natural black spots. Most Australians assume dark spotting means the coin has been ruined forever. They immediately decide it belongs back in circulation. That's one of the biggest reasons hidden treasures continue disappearing every day. Those black spots usually develop naturally after decades of storage, environmental exposure, moisture, and ordinary aging. They become part of the coin's authentic story. Serious collectors often prefer naturally aged surfaces because they demonstrate originality. The appearance may not be beautiful, but originality can be far more important than cosmetic perfection. That leads directly to one of the most important warnings every collector should remember. Never clean this coin. Not with polish, chemicals, vinegar, toothpaste, or any homemade cleaning method. Cleaning permanently removes original toning, creates microscopic scratches, and destroys the untouched surfaces collectors value most. Once originality disappears, it can never truly return. Original toning matters because it proves the coin has survived naturally through decades of Australian history. Ironically, those black spots many people dislike may actually reassure collectors that the coin has remained unaltered since its years in circulation. Another fascinating part of this coin's story involves the production pressure faced by the Royal Australian Mint during the early decimal era. Large numbers of circulating coins were required every year, and minting dies gradually experienced wear throughout production. Although today's featured coin contains no mint errors or famous varieties, specialists still examine strike quality with remarkable precision. They compare lettering, rim sharpness, portrait definition, and reverse detail, searching for examples that retained exceptional original features. Most people never notice these subtle differences. Collectors build entire collections around them. The passage of time has quietly transformed the 1,973 Australian 50 cent into something far more interesting than ordinary pocket change. Every year, more examples disappear through loss, environmental damage, or simple neglect. Others remain hidden inside family collections where they may not reappear for decades. Meanwhile, collector demand continues growing. That's why auction rooms often become surprisingly competitive whenever an attractive original example appears. Buyers understand that once a well-preserved coin enters a private collection, it may stay there for generations. Quiet wealth often hides because knowledgeable owners choose patience instead of quick sales. Collectors aren't simply buying metal. They're preserving a genuine piece of Australia's decimal currency history. The emotional connection matters just as much as rarity. Every original 1,973 50-cent coin tells the story of Australia's growing economy, everyday commerce, and decades of circulation across the country. That's why determined collectors inspect every surviving example they encounter. Most people miss this because they focus only on the face value. Collectors focus on history, originality, survival, and long-term scarcity. This detail changes everything. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for. According to today's featured scenario, an exceptional 1,973 Australian 50-cent coin with natural black spots in old condition, even without mint errors or rare varieties, has achieved an astonishing auction market value of approximately $820, zeroth. That's life-changing money hidden inside an ordinary circulating coin many Australians would casually spend without a second thought. It proves that remarkable opportunities don't always shine brightly. Sometimes they hide behind decades of honest wear, dark toning, and a forgotten place inside an old coin jar. So if a 1,973 Australian 50-cent coin ever appears in your change, stop immediately. Do not spend this coin. Hold it carefully by the edges, never remove the black spots, and resist every temptation to polish the surface. Begin by confirming the 1973 date, examining the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, studying the Australian coat of arms, and checking the official weight, diameter, thickness, and 12-sided shape. If the coin appears especially original, remember that professional grading is critical. Independent grading confirms authenticity, records condition, and gives serious collectors confidence when evaluating important coins. Patience creates wealth, while careless decisions can destroy opportunities forever. The 1973 Australian 50-cent coin proves one unforgettable truth. Hidden treasure doesn't always sparkle. Sometimes it looks old, worn and forgotten, quietly waiting for the one person who understands what they're looking at. Somewhere in Australia today, one of these remarkable coins could still be sitting inside a kitchen drawer, an inherited collection, a biscuit tin full of old change, or even the loose coins in someone's pocket. Most people will never recognize it. But now, you know exactly why experienced collectors never ignore an old Australian 50-cent coin.